we're going to get into something a bit more experimental, where objects aren't just scanned or recorded, but they are interpreted. So it's about extracting, actually, the meaning, not just geometry. In other words, we're going to give a voice to the data. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome to the stage researcher and developer at Digital Heritage, Luk van Goor. Woo!
Hello. Okay, well, let's first watch a movie. Okay. Oh, thank you. So, for a few weeks ago, I went to my parents' place, and I came across this. So, that's my diary. And on the top it says, "My future." So, apparently, 8-year-old me had a very clear future, because what I wrote was, if I grow up, I want to become an inventor. And I love to dream about becoming an inventor one day. Okay. So, but honestly, it was just curiosity. I wanted to know how everything worked. So, as a kid, my favorite book actually was, How Does It Work? And I think if I'm really honest, I'm still that kid. I still want to know how everything works. Because once you understand how something works, you can start to tweak it, you can push it, you can combine it with something else and see what happens. And that's what this talk is all about. To see what can happen if you really understand the technique you're using. So you can push it behind the obvious. So through a few practical examples of some recent work, we're going to answer the 2 following questions. How do we pull more detail out of a 3D scan than we thought possible? And the second one, how do we see things our eyes cannot? Okay, but before we start, a little bit about myself. So a big part of what I do is making replicas. Replicas for museums, exhibitions, researchers, and making replicas is really cool. It's really cool. But we always want to improve our 3D scans, and that's what we do. That's what we're here for, some of us. Which brings me to the first question. How do we pull more detail out of a 3D scan than we thought possible? While researching how to improve my 3D scan, I came across this technique. It's called photometric stereo. And let me first show you how this technique works. So you point a camera at an object and take photos with light coming from different angles. The computer then calculates the depth from the shadow, capturing all the tiny details. And from that, we can generate, for example, a normal map. Here you can see every minuscule detail, down to the fraction of a millimeter. And that got me thinking, what if we combine photogrammetry with photometric stereo? And it actually worked. And on the left side, see classic photogrammetry. On the right side, the combined technique with photometric stereo. And I love to share a few examples, what a combined scan like this can deliver. And we're going to look at 3 case studies. So let me see. Oh, that's the wrong button. So we're going to look at this trophy engraved with engraved names, barely visible. And then we're going to look at a tobacco tin that comes to life. And what if we add focus stacking into the mix? And AI. So let's take a look at this beautiful trophy. So this trophy is from 1882, from Düsseldorf. And a lot of painters scratched the signature into this trophy and on the surface. And it was very hard to read. So think of it as a gas book, but then made of metal. So we combined photogrammetry with photometric stereo, and then all the names came back and were very easily to read. Now you're going to see a normal map, but actually the height map was even better to see, to read. So, and we found out that these were very important painters whose work hangs in museums today. And a beautiful result. A little bit too fast, maybe. Okay, then let's look at the next one, the tobacco tin.
Behold this exquisite tobacco box, a true treasure of the past, now brought into the light by modern technology. This beautiful tobacco box was scanned using a combination of 2 techniques, photogrammetry and photometric stereo technique. Additionally, the reflections have been mapped. What makes this box even more captivating are the 2 historical inscriptions it bears. On the lid, alongside an evocative iconographic representation, is the inscription, "Whoever rests on work half finished soon loses his wit and judgment." On the reverse side of the box, another timeless maxim is inscribed, "No swifter is the time that slips away." These venerable words speak to the fleeting nature of time and the value of diligence. What a magnificent find, a perfect marriage of historical depth and contemporary technology.
So, I hope the next example doesn't go against Michael's religion, because it's a little 2D. But we're going to look at a Roman curse tablet recently found in Heerlen, in the Netherlands. And they were used to curse someone or some group. And when we combine photometric stereo and focus stacking, we got some really sharp results. And in this way, AI can also see every small detail. And because of the combination of these 3 techniques, we can read something that is almost 2,000 years old, easily. And this is just the beginning of the AI era. So, a metal cup showing us names, a tobacco tin coming to life, and a cursed tablet finally read after more than 2,000 years, almost 2,000 years. And that answers the first question. So how do we pull more detail out of 3D scan than we thought possible? Well, combining different techniques. What about the second question? Whoops. How do we see things our eyes cannot? When I was a kid, I used to take everything apart. Like anything you gave me, like electronics, pens, wasn't safe for long. I wanted to know how it worked. And that also didn't really change. And I hope nobody from Sony is in the room right now. Because every camera uses an IR UV blocker. So I had to take this filter out to see behind the visual spectrum. We're going to look at 3 case studies again. I'm going to show you what UV revealed about a Roman pot and what happens when you add a CT scan to the coin hoard, and finally a more recent test. So this Roman pot needed to be scanned to see how it has been restored 100 years ago before re-restoration. And what you're going to see is normally not visible for the eye. So the blue pieces are fillings, and the yellow lines are the glue, and this helped us with the re-restoration. So this is done with UV 3D scanning. Let's look at this coin hoard, Roman coin hoard, also found in the Netherlands. We're looking at a coin hoard. And when we combine this with a CT scan, we could actually see what is happening inside this block lifting. So here we see a conservator at work with this block lift, and he knows exactly what to expect thanks to the combined scanning technique. And it's practical. That advanced knowledge makes removing the soil so much easier. And then the last one, a Bronze Age urn, around 3,500 years old. This is a more recent case study. The others were from 2022. So here you see an urn in the field, captured in its original position. And back at our studio, we made a 3D scan with a SpectroFusion scanner. And you can also see the bronze axe sticking out and the bracelet. So in the next picture, let's go. Okay. So the next picture is showing us photometric information in normal map mixed with a height map. And you can see every crack in this surface very clearly. And then on the UV something interesting happens. You can see some lines in there and some crosses, also invisible to the eye. And then also in UV, the bronze corrosion lights up. And then the infrared, you can see the black dots, and those are cremation remains. And we can also add the CT scan. And that was very helpful with sectioning process later on. So, and none of this is me alone. Archaeologists, conservators, a medical CT team, each bringing something the others can't. That's what SpectroFusion really looks like. Not a machine, a collaboration. We've combined photogrammetry with different techniques, and every time we add a layer to the object, it tells us something new. Because there's always more to see than our eyes can pick up. And that answers the second question. Okay. And all of this was possible because of curiosity. And the question, how does it work? The question I asked myself as a kid. He wanted to be an inventor, and honestly, I'm not sure if he ever became one. I didn't invent one of these techniques, but I did take the time to really understand how they work. And that's the part I want to leave you with, because once you understand how something works, you can start to tweak it, you can push it, you can combine it with something else and see what happens. So my message is really simple. Don't just use the tools, understand them. Take them apart in your head, figure out every step it's actually doing, and yeah, stay curious. Thank you.
Luk, thank you so much. Thank you so much for a really beautiful presentation. Let's bring those questions up on screen. Once again, there are plenty. And let's start with the first one. What equipment do you use for scanning?
A Sony camera.
Sony camera.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate which model it is?
Yeah, A7 III and A7 4R. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. So, what's the ground sampling distance that you are achieving?
I have no idea, actually. No.
Okay, like it's quick and short answers. Why photometric stereo plus photogrammetry instead of different techniques like structured light or laser scan plus aligned HQ texture capture?
Okay,
Specific one.
that's more a question after this. But well, first of all, photometric stereo. I don't know any other technique that gives you so many information about the surface and also the flexibility, you know, to get closer to the object and use different lenses. So that's why I'm using that technique. Yeah.
Jeffrey is asking, do you work for a museum or are you independent?
Independent, yeah.
Okay. Do you work with museums?
Yeah, a lot of museums, yeah.
Mainly in the Netherlands or beyond?
Mostly in the Netherlands, but also Belgium and Germany, yeah.
Cool. Let's get personal. When did you first do 3D scanning?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. Real cool. Interesting one. What was your most favorite and bizarre item you scanned?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good one. I scanned a lot of very interesting objects. Like, the last one was D'Artagnan, the Four Musketeer. We found it in the Netherlands, maybe. After all, it was an illegal dig, they told me. But that was a very interesting one. But holding a 3.5-year-old bronze sword and stuff like that, there are so many objects I've been scanning, and it's beautiful. It's too much.
Thank you. And let's wrap it up with the last question. Now, talking about the software that you're using, what is your preferred software pipeline for focus stacking, photogrammetric stereo, alignment, etc.?
I'll give you a list if you come to me after the show. But let's say I use reality capture, of course. A lot of programs. AI, actually, lately. Just AI. Building my own workflows, yeah.
There's one interesting one still I would like to take that one. So you were talking about cremation remains over there. So how do you detect these cremation remains using IR?
The cremation remains are like a coal stuff, we call it in Dutch. But it's getting black, so it absorbs all the light, and that's why you can see the black dots. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Luk. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Luk van Goor.